music, I'm out of here. Hit my music. Hit my music. I'm the champ. Hit my music.
Thank you for joining the Fabulous B Effect, a wrestling podcast. I am your host, Fabulous B, and I'll be going over this week in the world of WWE wrestling. I'm going to be quoting a lot from the Bleacher Report in this episode, as well as commentary from my own viewing. And just remember, if you like this podcast, please hit the subscribe button below. Now, on to this week's episode of WWE. So this week, WWE Raw was on April 1st. You know, everybody thought that there was going to be some kind of April Fool's Day joke or something to that effect, which didn't seem like it was the case. Well, I take that back. I'll go ahead and touch at the end of this podcast. But the show started off with The Rock and Roman Reigns, and basically it was kind of like an appreciation thing for the bloodline. So, I mean, it was okay. It was, Roman said that he was going to leave the building, and then Seth Rollins appeared out in the crowd, and he challenged somebody from the bloodline. Well, with challenging somebody from the bloodline, of course, somebody's going to step up. Well, it wasn't going to be the final boss, and it wasn't going to be the tribal chief. So who was it? No, if you guessed Jimmy Uso, you'd be wrong. It was Solo Sikoa. Well, Solo said that this was going to be a bloodline rules match, which is what we can kind of look forward to for the this coming WrestleMania, which happens this weekend. Matter of fact, it's going to be Saturday that you're going to see The Rock and Roman versus Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes. So it was a decent back and forth. I mean, like I said, Seth Rollins came from, out in the middle of the crowd, which is kind of a play on the Shield back in those days whenever he would come out from the crowd. And that's pretty much where the segment ended. It was, The Rock and Roman. And then, they would go to commercial, come back, and Roman told The Rock, take care of things. And because he's got a speech to write about his wise man for Paul Heyman's Hall of Fame induction. Well, that wasn't the case. By the end of the night, Roman was underneath of the ring the entire time. Spoiler alert. So anyways, moving on, there was a tag team match with the Judgment Day versus the New Day and DIY, or Regeneration X, as R-Truth would so lovingly dub them. And Shawn Michaels and Triple H, skinny versions, kind of looked pretty good out there. But all in all, it was the Judgment Day that would wind up winning, the match. So, let's see. And by the way, the Bleacher Report is very well detailed. If you want to read what happened, they actually give decent grading system to the matches and the segments and everything. Eric Beeston from the Bleacher Report put together this article, and it was pretty outstanding. So going into the Judgment Day and everything, basically it was Damian Priest that gave the Razor's Edge to Tommaso Ciampa. They wound up beating, they wound up on top. To tell you the truth, with them being on top on Raw before the big wrestling pay-per-view, I honestly think that the Judgment Day is going to drop the titles, and I really hope that it's the Awesome Truth that wins. I really do. So after the match, there was a promo in the back. Becky Lynch basically saying that there was going to be further interaction with Mommy, or Rhea Ripley. I seriously did a personal thing for me. I can't stand the name Mommy. Mommy is just, yeah. But anyways, that's just my personal thing. Then Sami Zayn versus Big Bronson Reed. I was watching TikTok earlier today, and I saw somebody that said that this should have been Chad Gable. I love Sami Zayn, but I really don't think that it needed to be Sami Zayn versus Gunther. Sami Zayn is a great talent, but honestly, I think that it would have been way better for Gunther to drop the title to Chad Gable. Chad Gable hasn't had any titles since he's been in the WWE. 0. Well, I take that back. He was tag team champions with Otis. As far as singles titles, I don't think that he's held any. So, but anyways, it was the result of the Sami Zayn and Big Bronson Reed was a no contest. So what had happened is Gunther actually pulled Chad Gable. He jumped Chad Gable, out, behind the curtain, drug him out to the underneath the Titantron, and then Sami Zayn came down, and Gunther, proceeded to beat the crap out of both of them. Chad Gable looked like he was dead anyways. He wasn't, but then going on, Legado Fantasma interrupted Judgment Day, which I think was really hilarious because, Damian was kind of pissed off that, he had to, for one, that Fantasma or Legado del Fantasma was even in the area for Judgment Day, I guess, in the clubhouse, so to say, and that they were touching his darts. He asked Tom and Nick, but he asked Dominic, he's like, are they touching my darts? Why are they touching my darts? I thought it was funny. So anyways, and then, there's a couple, filler matches. You had Maxine Dupree and Ivy Nile versus Indy Hartwell and Candice LeRae, which there's even more of a character arc for Candice LeRae. She's kind of, turning heel. Indy Hartwell not really knowing what's going on with Candice. And, Indy wound up taking the L, and Candice at the very end just opened up on Indy and started screaming at her and hollering at her that this is why they lose, because she's Indy is playing clean, and it was actually Maxine Dupree that got the win over Indy Hartwell. All in all, it's a pretty decent how they're telling the story for her, for Candice and Indy. I'm interested in seeing how far they take that. Next up was Ricochet and Ivar, which, to tell you the truth, I think they're giving Ivar far too much TV time. There's other people in the back that need, that can be a lot more interesting. I mean, I've never really been a big fan of the Viking Raiders. And now, I mean, with Eric being out, I mean, they're trying to give a little bit of a push to Ivar, which I'm not certain why. But, I mean, they're giving one-on-one time with Ricochet, which Ricochet, he's hit or miss for me. I mean, he does the flippy-dippy stuff, and that's good and all, but for the most part, I mean, it kind of gets old because, I mean, you can almost write down verbatim what he's going to do before he even does the match. And it's only this move set that gets huge pops from the crowd. And it just, I don't know, it gets old after a while. So... and let's see. It was Ricochet that wound up taking the win on that one. It was like I said, it was a good match, but for the most part, it was very predictable. Then there was a Drew McIntyre vignette that showed him at a mock funeral where he held a eulogy for, Seth Rollins' title reign. And let's see. I mean, I love Drew McIntyre, and I really hope that he does win the title because he deserves a title reign that's not in a warehouse. But anyways, so later on, Becky Lynch called out Rhea Ripley to the middle of the ring, and, obviously they got into a huge fight. She winds up clocking Dominic Mysterio right in the face. It was hilarious. Dominic actually... Dominic is great in-ring performer here lately. He's, gets booed quite a bit. He's got a decent moveset, but for the most part, he's there for comic relief. Let's see. So, and it was funny because whenever Adam Pearce came out to break up Rhea Ripley and Becky Lynch, he looked at Dominic and he told him, he says, "Control your mommy," which, like I said before, it gives me the heebie-jeebies just calling somebody mommy. I mean, if you're not my mom, I'm not calling you mommy. I don't give a shit. Anyways, so there was a filler match, another filler match. Tegan Nox, Shayna Baszler, Zoe Stark versus basically Damage Control, the remnants of Damage Control without Io Sky and Becky Lynch, obviously. So for the most part, I mean, Damage Control win. They picked up the win. I didn't, to be honest, it was one of those matches where I lovingly call it a pee match, because that's about the time, if you're at one of these shows, that you get up to go to the concessions, to go to the bathroom or something to that effect, because it's predictable. It's very predictable. Let's see. And and this is, I'm reading this in the Bleacher Report, and this is something that didn't dawn on me either, but I I completely and totally concur with what they're saying. They're saying that the lack of the commentary team's acknowledgement of the long history between Tegan Nox and Dakota Kai, it really is disappointing, only because in NXT, they were huge rivals between the two, Tegan Nox and Dakota Kai, and it was a great rivalry to the point where, I mean, there was a title back and forth between the two. And not only that, okay, and this is also, I mean, not on the Tegan Nox and Dakota Kai, but I'm also going to concur with what Bleacher Report says. Probably the best top rope elbow from any performer in the WWE right now is Kairi Sane. She comes off that top rope, goes completely and totally horizontal before she gives that elbow. Oh yeah, one more thing before for the Ricochet and Ivar match is that with Ricochet won with a 630 splash, and not to mention Ricochet also lifted that 400-pound man for a fireman's carry. That was wow. All right, so going into the main event for the night was Seth Rollins and Solo Sikoa for a I guess the Bloodline rules match, which, for the most part, Seth Rollins was owning the match. I mean, he was just, he went out there, doing a clinic for, with Sikoa, and from out of the crowd, who comes? Jimmy Uso. He broke up the pin, but Jay came running out and started fighting with Jimmy, and then they went into the back, only to be basically clotheslined by The Rock as The Rock came out from behind the crowd. The Rock came down to the ring. He looked at Seth Rollins, and Seth Rollins looked back up at The Rock after just being roughed up by Solo Sikoa and Jimmy Uso. He looked up at The Rock and he started laughing, and then all of a sudden, from behind the curtain, here comes Cody Rhodes, rushes to the ring. And they started, beating up The Rock, and all of a sudden, from underneath the ring, who shows up? Roman Reigns. So, yeah, they both jumped Cody and Seth, and they wound up beating the holy living crap out of them. I don't know what everybody else is thinking. I personally think that The Rock is going to wind up turning on Roman. I think that it's going to be a situation where Roman's going to be counting on The Rock to, quote unquote, save him. And The Rock is going to do nothing. I think The Rock is going to wind up pretty much, like I said, turning his back on Roman. And I think Roman drops the title to Cody at WrestleMania, which is something that they've been working up to and telling a fantastic story with the Bloodline and with Cody and with Seth. I really see that not only is Cody going to take the title off of Roman, but he's going to take everything. Roman's going to be taken off that island of relevancy. Paul Heyman's going to walk away from him. The Bloodline's going to crumble. Well, I don't know about crumble. I think that it's going to splinter for a little bit until I think Roman needs some time away. And I think that what's going to wind up happening, he's going to reform the bloodline. And I think that there's going to be even more of that family that shows up in the WWE, which, in all honesty, he could take the title right back off of Cody if Cody wins this coming weekend. All right. So, this weekend, I know that there is so many things that are planned for WrestleMania, which, by the way, I'll go ahead and I'm going to record my prediction for WrestleMania, both Saturday and Sunday. And I'm also going to go ahead and do a review of the Hall of Fame inductions on, I think it's a Friday. Oh, another thing too, NXT Stand and Deliver is on Saturday before WrestleMania. How crazy is that? 2 PLEs back to back on the same day. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast with Fabulous B, the Fabulous B Effect. Until next time, stay classy, San Diego.